Like many Americans, I had learned Spanish to some extent in high school. I actually took 3 years of it. Also, like many Americans, I achieved very little actual competency in the language, yet I also felt that having some level of bilingualism, having some mastery of a non-English language was intellectually valuable, and so I decided I sort of wanted to start over.
The first reason that come up to my head is the elegance of Italian.
My whole family, they're just from Italy, and I wanted to brush up on speaking and then grammar too.
The class is small in a good way, so I think you can really, as I said, like interact with professor, then you can learn deeply about language. For example, Claudio like really talks about not only Italian grammar, but Italian culture and the stories behind the grammar or like the culture by using his own experience. That's one of the reasons I think it is fun to learn Italian at UW.
One of my favorite professors, Irina, she would have us talk from the moment we got in the classroom Italian, from the moment we left the classroom, which was very helpful. And just practicing that and not always resorting back to English.
When I was a kid, I didn't learn any English grammar in school. Like, my knowledge of my own grammar was awful, but when I took Italian, suddenly I can recognize grammar in my own language and also more broadly. Even though Italian is obviously different than, say French or Spanish, I still can, in a way interpret maybe some written French or written Spanish because of those overlaps. It's really useful for really anybody who wants to have anything to do with Romance languages in general, or anyone who wants to work in a European context. I think it's a really great language. I got to go to Perugia last summer with a scholarship from the Seattle-Perugia Sister City Association. So I got to go there and study abroad for a month, and I got to use my Italian all the time, really. And so by the end of that month and a week or so, I was way more comfortable in my speaking Italian.
Just communicating with my family, even messaging them now, I used to use Translate, and now I'm just like, oh, I can write this.
I'm also a classical pianist, and so I, love opera, and being able to listen to Italian operas without, having to look above the stage at the translations was very freeing. I get a much greater degree of enjoyment out of listening to that than I would if I didn't know the language.
Piano and forte. I've learned violin when I was little, but it's really have a connection to Italian, and I realized when I learned Italian, the word forte comes from Italy, and that makes sense.
Gioielleria, and because it's funny, because in class with Claudio, a lot of us had a hard time pronouncing it. That word's just really stuck in my head right now, and it's really fun to say.
In bocca al lupo, la risposta crepi il lupo. I love that so much. I think it sounds so badass.
If you already know English, or maybe Spanish or close language, then it is, I think, easy to learn Italian.
Ask for help. Ask your teacher for help for sure. Really focus on studying the vocab, the grammar, because that'll help you with your speaking.
Italians are very friendly. They do want to talk to you, much more so than Seattleites. And there's never going to be a point at which you feel like you've already got the language mastery and then you can go speak. It's rather something that has to be cultivated through this sometimes painful, I would say most of the time very fun and joyous in a sense process.
If you have a chance to go abroad, do it. It can be difficult to make work, and sometimes it's hard to find opportunities, but the gain that you will get from studying abroad and actually speaking the language in the country is really invaluable.